The entire team at HPIHair Partners wishes you a happy and prosperous 2024. In this special edition of the podcast, we're taking a quick trip down memory lane and sharing some of our favorite clips from 2023. We welcome you to Hair Loss, Restore Roots and Confidence podcast. And I'm your host, Kimberly Vaughn. I hope you enjoy. Our guest is Breanna Feldpausch. She is an RN. She's also the practice development manager with Alma Lasers, which is a worldwide laser company. But more importantly, the reason that she's here with us today is that she is the winner of the NCP Bikini Novice Championship in 2023. And that particular competition was held in Nashville, Tennessee, luckily for us, because that's where we're located. Luckily, to our credit and to Breanna's, she was able to find HPIHair Partners when she started having issues with her telogen effluvium, or her aggressive shedding that started to happen. Probably what we don't realize is that I'm sure it happened during her training, but she didn't reap the sad results of that until post-training.
So I was doing cardio 6 days a week for 2 hours a day, so 12 hours there. And then I was doing weight training for about an hour, 5 days a week. So 18 hours typically. It was like a part-time job.
Oh, for sure. That you're so committed to, though. And I'm sure, those that are listening, whether you're ready to start training for a 5K, a half marathon.
I went through some major life changes. I moved states, got a new job. I also had hair extensions, and I noticed hair thinning from all of that. And it was recovering, and then kind of backtracked once I started competing and did the competition. So we kind of reversed a little.
Okay. So during those stressful lifetimes earlier, when you were younger and you made these changes, you went through this aggressive shedding at that time. So
right.
At that particular time, right, your body wasn't under the stress that it was during the competition. Tell me about the diet. So I know that you were on this intense training of 3 hours of workout almost daily, right? 2 hours of cardio and
right.
An hour of weight training. What was your diet like?
Right. And that all kind of changed as we went. It started out, I think everything was at a really healthy level. I was eating, rice and salmon and chicken, lots of vegetables. Breakfast was always oatmeal, fruit, eggs. And then I think it was turkey bacon. And then once I got into prep and closer to peak week, it was a lot less carbs. So it would be, just oats in the morning and no other carbs that day besides having some vegetables, which is very low. Peak week, it was literally asparagus and chicken 6 times a day. Now I had 6 meals the entire time that I did this. But the meals were smaller and smaller as we went. And he never told me the calorie amount that I was eating, but I did add it up one time just because I was curious. And closer to peak week, I was eating around 1,000 calories, maybe a little bit less. So quite very, very low for me. So before all of this, my average weight's 136. I am 5'5".
And then when you started going through or getting really close to the competition, and you talked about that peak week, which was a week before the competition, what was your weight at that point?
So on show day, I was 119. We actually did a fat measurement test. I went from 17% to 13% body fat in the 16 weeks of prep.
And so with doing that and changing this diet, even though, right, you were eating multiple times a day, your body still couldn't keep up with making sure that the nourishment and the vitamin stabilization was truly supporting you the way you needed to. And so
right.
Individuals go through any form of dieting, whether it's keto diets, whether it's low carbs, whether it is all protein diets, right? I mean, our body is going through a shock, and no matter what happens, we don't balance it as well as we think we do. And we also don't always know exactly what our body needs. And with the stress that you were under and the anxiety that you were under, that also just depletes these vitamins and these minerals that we need for our healthy hair growth. Had you just had a recent physical, or had you had labs drawn, or did you know what any of your iron levels, your vitamin D levels, any of those vitamins, what those levels were?
So not right before. If I do compete again, I do plan to do blood work prior. But in the past year, I have done blood work, and all of my levels were pretty normal. Everything was within the normal range. One thing that I do remember is that I have a gene mutation. It's MTHFR, I think.
Yes, MTHFR.
Yeah. So I was learning about this. Actually, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Gary Brecka was talking about this. So I learned quite a bit, but I didn't realize that my body does not absorb folic acid from foods, like the enriched foods that we have. So many things in America are enriched, and my body can't absorb that. So it doesn't really have anywhere to go. And without my body absorbing folate or vitamin B, I think it can cause a lot of anxiety, for one, and it can also really affect hair and mental health.
Completely. That's what happens with our amino acids. And so when folate is lacking and we're not substantiating and building up that folate, it really kind of derails everything that we're doing.
Right.
We have no stabilization any longer.
Yeah.
And amino acids build protein, and then there build cells. And hence that's the way that our hair grows and what our hair is comprised of.
Yeah.
So, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's so important. The other areas where we see issues with vitamin deficiency with hair growth is within our iron and also our ferritin. And what people don't realize is many times we think of iron and ferritin as the same, and they're not. Ferritin is actually how the body processes and stores the iron. So therefore, if we're getting a lot of iron, and if you're eating iron-rich foods, which I'm sure you were during this entire training process, if your vitamin C levels are off, or if other minerals are slightly out of balance, and as well as this folate, your body is not storing this iron. And so therefore your ferritin levels really are on a roller coaster ride. And so there's no way to balance out that stability, getting you to that optimal iron and ferritin level.
So I do have a question. So whenever you recommend vitamins to someone, do you recommend everyone take a multivitamin, or should people take something specific that they need that they're not getting in their diet, or should they do both?
Oh, that's a great question. So first off, the reason that HPI is different is because we're a team of clinical trichologists. So all we do 6 days a week is support and help individuals that are going through hair loss or scalp disease. So the only way that we can understand what is truly going on out of the 18 documented causes of hair loss, right, is to get to the root of the problem. We are very intentional about what we do. And so we have to start with those tests. We need to understand if your levels are fine within normal, right, of what the lab says is normal, right? It's not this acute hair loss that you experienced with your telogen effluvium during your competition. So then we also have a DNA tricho test. So all of that to be said, I think it's extremely important, if you are shedding and if you're starting to lose your hair, you want to make sure that you understand where some of these levels are. You can start by grabbing a hair and skin vitamin or a multivitamin, right? Making sure that it is truly a vitamin that is of high quality. If you're starting to notice hair loss, or you're seeing more hair in your comb in the shower, definitely starting with a high quality multivitamin is great. However, If you continue to see this hair loss, then we definitely recommend that you go in and have a hair specialist run some more tests, because we do like to compartmentalize our vitamins and then our minerals, right?
Right.
Very different. And amino acids for trainers or for anyone that is doing a lot of workouts or lifting a lot of weight or doing a lot of weight training, amino acids are so important.
Right.
So that's one of the keys. If you would have probably been on a really good amino acid regimen, you very well might not have felt that fatigue that you had getting closer to the competition and the stress. Alopecia areata doesn't always have a happy ending as yours has. And individuals go through roller coasters every month, every year, or random, right? At crazy times throughout their life. So let's start today with just kind of taking us back to a specific time in your life, if I don't eat my microphone, at your time in your life when you remember your first alopecia areata balding patch.
I do remember exactly when it happened. It was early spring 2019. I was in the shower, taking a shower, actually listening to my music, taking a shower, happy, smiling, looked down at the bottom of the shower, and there were two huge patches of hair on the shower floor. Immediately started crying. Finished my shower, got out of the shower, looked into the mirror and saw a smaller, probably a golf ball size top right, and another one maybe on the top left of my hair. And that's when I noticed my alopecia.
Got it. So that breakout was in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But you've mentioned a couple times in just this short time that we've been talking about your first breakout. So when did you see the alopecia areata occur again? How long?
That was spring of 2019. At the end of the year, maybe November of 2019.
Okay.
Ish.
So from 2020, right, to earlier this year, 2023, and you had a couple of breakouts in between. What changed? Because it sounds like your spots in the breakouts are starting to become further and fewer apart. They also sound that the spots are getting smaller. Now, I want to remind everybody listening too, is that alopecia areata, there's no way that we can draw a line in the sand and say, oh, at this point in time, you're only going to have smaller breakouts, or you're only going to continue to get them further and fewer, months apart. Absolutely not. We have no idea. Right. But there are things that you have done in your life over the course of these last 2.5 years that I was referring to earlier in the introduction, that you have become such a kind of a different person in the way that you look at life, in the way that you look at your hair loss. And the listener would love to hear this. So tell me, where did you start and how did you know what to do first? Because this kept happening, right? And it was now perpetuating. And now, did you go back to Google or did you go to Google? Okay.
Well, I met you, and HPIHair Partners is really how my real journey of helping my areata and my health become, an important part of my life. I met you actually while I was working. I met you, I don't know if you remember, on my bed when I was giving you a facial.
That's right.
And
that's right. Yes.
You told me, I asked you what you did, and you told me you told me all about your company, and I started crying and showed you my spots, and you gave me your card and said, come see me as soon as you have a day off. And so I'm so thankful for you and your company. But the things I've done through with HPI, I think gut health was a really important thing for me. taking time to understand nutrition and the foods and vitamins and minerals that really help detoxify and or help your health become stronger. I did an epigenetic hair follicle test, which we perform, or y'all perform at HPI, which shows the all of the vitamins and nutrients that you're lacking, the environmental stressors, which is a big thing nowadays, that are affecting your health. So I feel like nutrition, gut health, and environmental issues have really helped me become a stronger person inside and out. Also, stress, learning how to deal with using my tools for stress, resting, exercising. Those are very important in my life. And also the products and scalp health that I've learned through HPI, keeping your scalp clean, detoxifying your scalp, which is just like your face, which I was not aware of when I came to HPI. The health of your scalp and hair is really important. And so many of the services at HPI, the scalp treatments, the detoxifying your scalp, and also the products for strengthening your hair. And my hair, not only my areata has gotten better, but my hair has flourished and it's healthier and stronger. So I feel like stress, gut health, exercise, and scalp and hair health are really important and a big priority in my life.
Yes. Well, and that's probably the reason also I was mentioning during the introduction is you seem to be in such an amazing, happy place right now. And I mean, you look amazing. I mean, from when I first met you, and you certainly weren't overweight or out of shape, but I mean, I think you should be signing up for the next, Ironman or Iron Woman, like triathlon or something. It's crazy. But so great. Lots of super topics that you just mentioned that I want to kind of take in reverse, just so we'll do that quickly so the listener can understand. So the first is a stress. So we talk on many of our episodes and our podcasts as well as our videos about how important it is to reduce stress in your life. That's easier said than done. Sure. I'm the first to say, I'm a AAA type of personality and it's ridiculous. I mean, I start at 4:30 in the morning and then, where's my cortisol levels? Where's my stress? But you did intentionally work on that. And I think one of the things is it's kind of you to give HPI the credit, but I also think our coaching and just the education. It's not as much about HPI. It's about the world of trichology and really understanding the importance of educating you and every single individual that we sit in front of. Alopecia areata is an autoimmune condition, and we need to make sure that everyone understands why that is affecting 2% of the world's population. Now, sadly, that's not strong enough numbers for the FDA to really jump on board up until just as of late. And sadly, it took the pandemic to make a difference in treating the autoimmune body and the autoimmune response. And that's when we started seeing the alpha reductase 5 inhibitors that were on the market, such as many of the drugs that have now been FDA cleared. And so with that being said, though, going in a natural direction, which is what you chose, then you moved forward into some epigenetic or testing that we talk about from like above the blood level, right? So for those of you that are watching, epigenetics is been around for hundreds of years, but now it is being recognized in the United States as an amazing analysis to understand what is going on with your body. In addition, certainly to traditional labs and other forms of testing, but on top of that, you were able to get yourself in a much healthier place from your diet. The testing shared with you foods that might not be great for you, right? And that might be causing stress on the system, that could be causing inflammation. And so, being able to reduce those foods or either add in healthier foods, it really gives us a roadmap, right? And the other thing that I have to say, it obviously meant a fair amount to you because you ended up going back and getting your certification to be a certified nutritional coach. So if you're listening and you want to come over to HPI for one of these tests, you can talk to Nicole personally, and she will actually perform your test for you. So what we really want to impress upon the listener and the audience is that taking control, right? You knew that something was wrong. You didn't know really how to identify it. Your dermatologist was a great source for you because you were able to go to them. They were able to diagnose exactly the issue. Trichologist, dermatologist, a lot of functional and integrative medicine physicians can also help with the diagnoses of alopecia areata universalis or totalis. From there, though, it kept reoccurring, which many times it will. And so you started to look for other options and other ways because the steroid shots seemed to work, but boy, how are you ever going to get this under control, right? It was tough. And so then you were able to step into what else is available. The key is the scalp treatments that you performed, right? And you talked about that. And one of the things that is so important for individuals to understand is scalp health, the treatment of your scalp, right? And Nicole, you've become one of our, leading experts on scalp treatments and scalp health. So what would you say when you're performing a scalp treatment, right? A detoxifying treatment or a stimulating scalp treatment? What are the benefits that you share with your clients, right, as you see them for those particular treatments?
Well, scalp health is of utmost importance. Detoxifying your scalp is the first thing I talk to my clients about, making sure it's clean, free of oil. Most clients, use dry shampoo or oils. And a lot of my clients' scalps really do have a thin film of debris or oil or flakiness. There's, many, many forms of scalp diseases that come along with that. So at first, I try to help them understand that your scalp is as important as your skin. And if you don't wash your skin or detoxify your skin, moisturize your skin, then your skin cells, are not going to turn over. And so it's just going to become dull and lifeless and saggy and wrinkly and hyperpigmentation. You're not going to really help your skin by not washing or exfoliating your skin. So your scalp is the same.
Right.
And then also the scalp treatments that I perform, the scalp mask also is a blood stimulator. It helps stimulate the blood, which helps turn over the follicles, which helps cell turnover. So that's another thing of utmost importance is turning over that cell turnover to help stimulate hair growth.
Right. And with autoimmune conditions, right, we only know that the body is telling the hair follicle to stop growing for some crazy reason, right? We also know that alopecia areata is a polygenic type of a condition. And so what that means is that it can happen to your brother, but it might never happen to you. It could happen to a distant relative, and then it could happen to one of your teenage boys, right? You can have two twins in a family, and the second twin only has a 55% chance of even having the same genetic predisposition that you do. So how do we know? What do we do? And so because the body maintains and contains the autoimmune responses by changing those and helping those from the epigenetic testing first. So you're cleaning and detoxifying the body. Then you clean and detoxify the scalp. You do a little yoga, or you hum along the way, or you go to the gym and work out like a crazy fiend. And now you kind of have a little bit more of a handle on what's going on with your life and your body. And the goal is perfect for you because it has really ward off any issues currently with alopecia areata. Is that correct?
Correct.
So when was the last episode that you had?
The beginning of this year.
In 2023. And you said that the areas were much smaller than they've been in the past?
Extremely small.
Great.
Yes.
And so are you still finding, though, that the steroid injections are working well for you when you do see the trigger and you do see the outbreak?
Yes, I did get a steroid injection. I think I got 2 separate steroid injections in both little spots, and then that was it.
Oh, amazing. So you went from those larger breakouts back in 2019 to now 2023, going from 6 treatments to now just maybe 2.
Yes.
Which is great. Plus, then, like you said, all that you have learned along the way, right? It's just made such a difference for you.
All the things that I've learned through HPI and, being a great student, the diet, exercise, nutrition is of utmost importance for hair growth and for health and happiness.
Yes.
Especially for a middle-aged woman like myself.
So if someone's listening and they've had these reoccurrences, and they have a formal diagnosis, if you will, of alopecia areata, and they've had the injections, what would you suggest to them at this point? Which direction should they go in? I mean, should they try to, we can certainly do it all at one time, right? And that would be great. But if it were you advising, what would you advise the listener today?
Well, I know once you have you find a spot, obviously a steroid injection just to ease your mind to hopefully begin the hair growth would be my first thing to say. But secondly, some testing, some blood tests, the epigenetic test, just to find out about your diet, your gut, your thyroid. Those are of utmost importance because it comes from the inside out. And so I feel like if I would have known about the testing in the beginning, I would have jumped on that as soon as I could. But I wasn't given all that information until I came to HPI. And that's when I began all that.
Great. Well, more than anything, again, your bravery of coming today and then stepping out and really sharing your story with others that are having this is just so important. And you're very courageous to do that. And I'm so happy that you have gotten yourself to this point. And sure, maybe HPI has helped you along and held your hand a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's left up to you. And so we're so grateful for you. Thank you. One of the things that we want to really dive into today and talk about is that, yes, you're experiencing this hair loss. And in the world of trichology and dermatology, we consider this telogen effluvium. As a little overview, your hair goes through 3 growing cycles, an anagen, a catagen, and a telogen phase. When you have this aggressive shedding, many times there are underlying health issues that moves your hair from that growing phase into this shedding phase very rapidly and obviously not under your control. And so what happens is postpartum, we find that our body ramps up and it's in the best shape that it's probably ever been, right? While we're pregnant. And so it's amazing. We welcome this opportunity. We're taking all of our prenatals, or we're also working with a functional physician or a nutritionalist who's helping us make sure that our bodies are extremely healthy so that we make sure now that we're providing for our infant. And so as time goes along, the body moves through this cycle process just as it's very normal. However, what happens is that once we deliver, the body goes through a very aggressive change. And when that happens, we obviously know that we experience at times numerous issues that can come into play after this beautiful, wonderful moment. One being hair loss, two being different forms of postpartum depression. And then three, certainly the focus on underlying health issues that all of a sudden seem to be raising their ugly heads, if you will, and that we don't even know. So since we're talking about postpartum hair loss today in this episode, we want to dive in and really focus on some opportunities for you that when you're getting ready to get out of the shower and you start to comb your hair and you're seeing handfuls and combfuls of hair everywhere, you want to make sure that you know what to do. Number one, you want to make sure that you really understand that this truly is just postpartum hair loss, right? And how do you do that? Well, there's lots of ways. I mean, first is that you can certainly during your next gynecology and OB visit, you can make sure that you ask them to run labs. Getting your trace metals and minerals or vitamins and nutrients added into just that traditional, what's called a CBC type of a blood lab will definitely provide the lab and the physician more insight into what's going on with truly your overall nutritional health after the baby is born. This is extremely important, especially if you're nursing. And many times, if you are nursing, the common practice is that you'll continue taking your prenatals, right? However, even after you've delivered, and even though you're continuing to take the prenatals and nursing is going fine, you can still experience this telogen effluvium shed. And so really what I'm advising is that I want you to make sure that really the only cause of this hair loss is this postpartum hair loss and this TE shed from your delivery. Otherwise, we need to make sure that we understand exactly what's going on with the underlying health issues in the body. And that's most important. So make sure you have those labs run. So that's important piece number one. The next step, number two, is how important is your hair health and the amount of hair that you are growing to you. Now, I know that seems like a stupid question, but at the end of the day, you're going to start recovering this hair over time. And the hair is going to start moving back into that growing cycle. The issue is that it takes a long, long time. And if you are affected by any of these other underlying health issues that I just recently mentioned on step one, then you definitely need to seek counsel from a trichologist, from a dermatologist, or someone that's really specializing in hair loss. And that's certainly something that our clinic can do here if you live in the local Tennessee area. However, if you're not in our area, we offer video consultations and we can talk about our proactive treatments that are certainly able to be performed in the privacy of your own home. So number two, making sure that you do not have any other issues that might be precluding the hair growth, right? And then number three is let's dive into how that we can stimulate and help our hair regrow quicker and faster, right? And making sure while we're doing this, that we're enhancing the natural health of our hair, that we're also being very kind to our scalp and exfoliating the scalp just as we do with our skin. We forget sometimes, right? That the very first thing that we need to do is we need to exfoliate off all of our dead skin cells and certainly the dry mass that continues to linger after we've either gone through a transition in our life or our bodies. And certainly postpartum is definitely one of those. And so now we want to talk a little bit about those treatments, right? What treatments can you use to help re-stimulate the growth of your hair? One of our favorites, and actually probably I would say 99% of all of our clients and all of our treatment centers are providing low-level laser phototherapy. And so when I say that, it's a mouthful. You're going to be very familiar with it, with the term of low-level laser or red light therapy, also laser stimulation from phototherapy. All of that to be said is that red light stimulation has been known since the 1700s to incentivize healing, whether that is from the stimulation and the circulation of the blood flow, from the oxygen flow, from speeding up those natural cells to regrow and to really boost our bodies and our health back into shape, right? And all with no drugs, no synthetic applications. And that's one of the reasons that we're going to talk a little bit more and dive into this lovely guest that we have who's joining us later. And I'm sure that he might not appreciate that I called him lovely, but he's a lot of fun. And he is really on the cutting edge of helping us with all of our laser light therapy and are helping us also understand why that the lights are increasing the stimulation in the hair and the growth. So I want to say now that you have these 3 tips, right? The first is really understanding what is going on with that hair loss, and is that postpartum, and is that all? And the number 2 is, if you're concerned or if you have a question in your mind, make sure that you check with your provider. And if your OB is not of a proactive nature in helping you with those labs, you are welcome to always reach out to our clinic. We can help you run labs in any location that you live in. We have a wonderful service that we provide there. And then number 3 is that if you're going to move forward with treatment, and whether the hair loss is deemed that it is simply postpartum, and you are in a situation that you want to stay on the natural side of treatment, let's talk about that laser therapy and what other forms of treatments that you can provide for the scalp as you're going through this new regrowth phase. And so now, as we dive into these natural treatments, we want to talk about this laser stimulation. And as you'll hear, we have a dear friend of ours, Dr. Rabin, who's going to share a little bit more information about how we can really kind of see and reap the benefits of low-level phototherapy. He's going to be demonstrating an actual cap that's made specifically for women with diffused hair loss. So when we talk about female diffused hair loss, we're talking about hair loss from the frontal hairline, extending down to the temples, around the ear area, and then also extending all the way to the nape of the neck or to the back below that round of your head. And so this particular M2 laser design and laser device is made specifically for those who have existing hair, and that we want to get the lights penetrating down into the scalp so that we can start to help that regrowth and that restimulation of each follicle in that anagen growing phase. Thanks so much for tuning in to our New Year's Eve edition of Hair Loss Restore Roots and Confidence podcast. Please join us for our next episode, which will be dropping soon. And most importantly, this year is going to be really fun. It's my rose-colored editions of Fact and Fiction. What are the right ingredients for your products? And are the products that you're using really what they say they are? Stay tuned and always make it a great hair day. Bye-bye.